other way just to break the system for whatever reason. So as a GM, I gotta say Pathfinder's got a point. Just because of the limited customability, it's a lot easier to keep balance. I know what classes I can say no, and considering there's very few prestige classes, I can open it up to them, and they're really not going to pick them up. They're going to stay with the core classes. I know what they're going to go. I know exactly how they're going to end up, and I can find my campaign around that. And again, it really comes down to that whole customability. Players take the advantage of 3.5, but I gotta say GMs take the advantage of Pathfinder. That's saying again. On the other hand, in Pathfinder, they changed a lot of things for the first 4 levels, and every level after that. Every class gives you something at every level. It's not just just some sort of just random crap that you get at level. Everybody remembers level 5 in 3.5. Other than rogues, nobody got anything. Rogues had an extra dice 6 of sneak attack. What did everybody else get? Nothing. Well, some of the casters got their next level spells, but 5th level really sucked for anybody. So, on the other hand, in Pathfinder, 5th level is not that bad.
Did you get another magic feat? Didn't you get another magic feat?
4th level as a wizard. Okay. It might have been. I thought it was 4th level, but again, you also got access to 3rd level spell at that point too.
Right.
But fighters didn't get those feats; they got those on even levels. Barbarians didn't get anything. Monks just got the extra slow fall, an extra 10 feet of slow fall. Bards were in between spellcasting levels at that point. It's just 5th level kind of really sucked in general. I mean, sorcerers didn't get anything. Only wizards did. Sorcerers got their next level, 3rd level spells at level 6. So, I mean, 5th level kind of sucked. So, as far as I understand that, Pathfinder really is going to get a point on, progression. There's something at every level. You have reasons to keep going in a certain level of class. Eventually, you will get something, even better than what you've already had. In 3.5, honestly, it was better to go to a prestige class and the majority of the classes after level 6 or 7. Clerics were a prime example. You were the healing cleric. After level 6, you were a radiant servant halo. You were pretty much healing everything. Well, depending on what kind of healing cleric you were playing, but and you got everything that you would have gotten as a cleric, and even more. So, I mean, what was the point of going to the 20th level as a cleric? Neither really wasn't. You got the 10 levels in Radiant Servant of Halo, and now you actually get quite a few decent things as a cleric. You get extra, more powerful, channel. And that's another big change. The healing. Clerics sort of lost their turn undead and got channel positive energy. And that is an extra source of healing. Really takes a lot of pressure off of the first 4 levels. I mean, so your cleric doesn't have to continually to prepare healing spells. If they run out of spells, they still got some channeling. And it's only 1 dice 6 plus the charisma modifier for healing, but that takes a huge burden off the first 4 levels. And in 3.5, those first 4 levels were often the deadliest. I personally have lost many a character before level 3. And then once you got past level 3, it sort of evened out. But that first curve in 3.5, it really was tough for the first 3 levels. Also in Pathfinder, they've also increased the base races and the base classes. Instead of for a point-buy system, you start at 10 and then buy up instead of starting at 8 and buying up. Same point progression. It's just you start with +2 in every stat ahead of time, and in any race you pick up starts with an additional +2 modifier. And dwarves Constitution +2, Charisma -2. They're Constitution +2, Wisdom +2, Charisma -2. So every class has a little extra something to make them a little bit stronger, and that really again reflects in the first few levels. After you start picking up magic items and you really start getting into your class, everything around 4th and later levels, it really doesn't reflect as much. It might mean an extra spell in certain places, but let's face it, the first 3 levels are going to be the hardest. So by smoothing out the progression curve in the first 3 to 4 levels, is definitely in favor of Pathfinder. As a GM, I have to agree too. I can be a little bit rougher on my players, and they will not, and I can let my players make a few more mistakes, and they won't be punished as much. As I kept the power on most of the monsters and other bestiary characters for the first 2 levels the same, and made the players stronger, so they're allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to start to learn their characters, and this is especially good when trying to teach new players. I mean, they make a mistake, they're going to walk away limping, but at least they walk away. They're not going to have to roll up a new character and have to learn something new all over again and get discouraged. Alright, also on character creation. Pathfinder made a few changes to character creation, skill points, and, combat maneuvers. I've got to give it to combat maneuvers. That really makes grapple checks, bull rushing, sunder attempts. It's really easy. You roll against a static defense. Everybody knows what it is. It's easy to do. It's easy to figure out. The grapple rules in 3.5 were notoriously, convoluted and difficult. Most of the time we ended up just winging it anytime somebody said, I'm going to grapple this guy. Well, okay, let's start rolling dice and seeing who has a higher dice pool this time. Pathfinder made it very easy for these grapple rules. It's a lot faster. You just roll your die, you know where your target number is, you know what your modifiers are, the same modifiers for your disarm attempts, your trips attempts. You'll get a few additional modifiers for your defense or your offense based on feats and ratios and certain class abilities, but the general idea is still the same. It's quick, it's easy, and people aren't going to be afraid to try to do it as well. And it leads to, somewhat more exciting combats. So as far as, getting rid of those grapple rules and streamlining them, it's got to be a favor in Pathfinder from both a DM and a player point of view. Also, other points on character creation, they got rid of a lot of the excess skills that really didn't matter. They bound hide and move silently in the steps. They got rid of jump and climb, and they kept climb. They got rid of jump and tumble and moved into acrobatics. They kept climb, they kept swim, but those each apply to different things. But they started moving some of those extra skills that were basically, I would agree, are sort of doubled up. Jump and tumble were really kind of the same skill. I'm glad they kind of moved them together. I'm trying to think of a couple others. Perception. There's no longer, listen, spot, and search. There's perception. And that means you can use your skill points to be a lot more customizable on your character. You can put at least 1 point in just about every skill now. And there's really no penalty on that too.
No cross-class.
No cross-class skills. No worthless half points in a skill that means nothing to you until next level where you put another half point. If it's a class skill in Pathfinder, you get a +3 modifier. If not, you've got 1 rank in it, you're trained in it now, you can do whatever you want. So you won't get as good as a die roll, but at least you're trained the skill now. You can at least attempt it. So, I gotta say, skill-wise, it's definitely favoring Pathfinder, or at least as a player point of view. And also, no first level 4 times your number of points. You get a number of points each level. It's just a lot easier to start creating a character, and you know how many skill points you're going to use. Put them in. It's a 5 skill. You add the modifier. You figure out what your attribute modifier is, and you're ready to go with half the startup time. And that also brings to us to feats. Pathfinder has a few feats. Some of them have been changed to be a little bit more progressive growth instead of initial power right off the bat. If you took power attack in 3.5, you could take the base attack modifier and drop it down to a -5 and add 5 more to your damage. Pathfinder, they limit you. For the first 4 levels, you can only take a -1 to get a +2. So, that's a huge change in feat strength. And I gotta say, the player, the feat strength, when you took a feat, you felt the difference. It was a huge thing. Every feat you took was, there was going to be a power difference. So I gotta say, 3.5, they had a lot more feats, and the feats had a little bit more oomph to it. But as a player, I gotta say, again, feats were a little bit stronger. As a GM, on the other side, suddenly my players go at, third level, they go from, sixth level is even better. They go from being a little weak to suddenly being a lot stronger because they got that extra feat. Suddenly my counters that were going to be challenging are now trivial. I gotta say, it's kind of harder to keep track of that, especially as players start adding more and more feats. They're going to get a lot stronger. Again, it comes down to that whole customization thing. I've got to replan my encounters to, based around this sudden power run. Also, another thing for feat, Pathfinder, you get a feat every odd level, which in 3.5 you got it first level and then every third level. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 8, and then 21. And then if you ever went to epic. And Pathfinder, every odd level you get a feat. So that means feats are going to be constant, but they're weaker. So, you're still going to get your feats and stuff like that. It's just, you're not going to get as strong as it. Said, the feats still grow. Once you get level 6, your power attack, you can take an additional you can take -2 on it now and get an additional 4 damage. But still, that's a slow growth. You don't feel as much of a difference. Spellcasting and certain spells. They clean up quite a few spells in Pathfinder. Some of the more vague spells in 3.5, such as polymorph. If your GM wasn't as intelligent, wasn't as up to it in the book as he was supposed to be, and you as a player were a little bit more clever with your words, as a wizard, polymorph was your friend. You could transform yourself into a troll, and if your GM didn't read the rules correctly, had regeneration. So that is kind of an interesting thing. And Pathfinder, they specifically state what you're going to get. And there's no general polymorph. There's, dragon shape now. There's V-shape. There's elemental body. You take the smell and you transform it into that substance. Elemental body, you transform into an elemental, and it specifically says exactly what ability you get. Dragon shape, you transform into a dragon. You know it lists exactly exactly what abilities you get. You don't get anything else. It's easy to understand. You know exactly what you've got. There's no arguing with it with your GM. GMs know exactly what you've got. So spell-wise on both sides. Both GMs and players. I gotta say Pathfinder, just because they cleaned up some things. And I mean, it's just not your polymorph. They've also cleaned up the rules on dispel magic. They've cleaned up the rules on it's no longer called Mordecai's Disjunction, but it's the anti-magic field. I can't remember what it's called. But I mean, with these rules cleaned up, it's a lot easier to understand, especially for newer players. This is going to be a big thing. Newer players, we need more of them. I mean, sure, we've got some new players showing up every so often, but we need to keep those newer players coming in. And the easier the rules are to understand, the quicker they can pick it up, the more likely they are to stay and keep playing. 3.5 had a lot of rules, had a lot of convoluted things, but it was a fun game. And both games offer a great amount of what kind of play you're looking for. You're looking for combat orientation. Both games offer it. If you're looking for role play orientation, both games offer it an equally amount, except under one thing. Pathfinder only has one word. D&D has 5. Campaign setting in Pathfinder, you play an Absalom. That's it. I mean, if as a GM you can create your own world and stuff like that. In 3.5, you have 5 to pick from. Probably even more. I can only ever think of the 5. I mean, you've got Ravenloft, you've got
Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms.
Yep, Forgotten Realms. Okay.
Everplanes, Eberron,
Eberron. Yeah.
Greyhawk.
Greyhawk, yep. I mean, that's 6 or 7.
That was only 5 of them. The Flying Ants, but
Yeah, there are a lot of them. And as a GM, I have a lot of things to play and pick from. I can have a different campaign setting set up within. There's a lot of resources. I can pick up the Dragonlance book and we can play a Dragonlance campaign. And if we get sick of dragons, I can pick up an Eberron book and we can play sort of a steampunk. If we haven't, we've had enough of that, we want a more role-playing game. Well, we've got Neverwinter. I just forgot what the realm was. Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms. There are very fleshed out, great campaign settings and players and GMs. It's a lot of resources for us to pick from. A lot of stuff we can really play with. I'm going to take a break here. If you guys want to throw a couple things out, I got to get a drink of water.
I had a question about limitations on time on spells on magic users in Pathfinder, where, for instance, you have spells that would previously have had long durations. Now you can only apply for 5 minutes if you're 5th level or whatever.
Yep.
That just seemed like a huge downgrade. On the other hand, you get more perks early on that are non-spell specific related, that are like the channeling.
Yeah. Well, also you got your Orson and your cantrips. These, 0 level spells that are, they're useful. They do a lot of those things. Infinite use of them. I don't know how many times in 3.5 when I was playing, I had prestidigitation listed 3 times. I guarantee I was going to use it 3 times. It's for little minor things. As my wizard, prestidigitation, my closer clean. Prestidigitation, I'm clean. And then throughout the day, if I need to, prestidigitation, my hands are clean. It's, being able to cast that, anytime you want and Pathfinder, all those games a lot of stuff.
That's cool. On the other hand, I had the magic user who wore a polymorph ring, could change to all kinds of stuff, do all kinds of things, and then now he goes into Pathfinder and he's pretty much useless.
Yeah, the polymorphing wizards. Yeah, I mean, shaving down some of the power on some of the higher level spells. Pathfinder, as a player, I gotta say, yeah, I gotta agree.
3.5 hated wizards, and Pathfinder hates them more.
Well, that also brings up linear fighter, quadratic wizard. As soon as your wizards started and sorcerers started getting the third and fourth level spells, the game stopped being about the fighter and the barbarian, it started to be about the sorcerer, wizard, cleric, and druid.
It depends on how magic friendly your universe is.
Yes, true. I mean, again, setting wise, 3.5. If you really didn't want to have to deal with your overpowered clerics and druids, you could set up there was I think Ravenloft, wasn't it? Had low magic.
Not use Ravenloft, but it's your choice. I mean,
Yeah.
you can have a world where there's 50,000 plus 1 protection rings and 2 plus 2 protection rings. You know? It's your choice.
Well, you can control that sort of with Pathfinder. As a DM, is if you're creating a world, you can create a world from the ground up. But again, quadratic wizards, linear fighter, it's a problem on both ends.
Just have to remember to get your melee people out of the way before you cast something.
Yes. Power-wise, I mean, neither game has fixed that issue.
It is.
Wizards are and clerics and druids are
If you
going
forget
to
where
only
your
get
party members are and you cast a cone shaped
fighters
spell,
and barbarians just can't.
and they happen to be wearing gunpowder for whatever reason,
It's
and you
as
cast
a
a fire
GM,
spell.
honestly, there's nothing you can do about it unless
I
you really
never-
want to just, say, hey, I hate my casters. You all suck.
There's ways around anything like that.
Yes.
The campaign where the illusionist magic user is out there, you throw nothing but undead at them. You know, it's
Yeah.
just
Or,
there's balances. You can do that.
the cleric who, when Radiant serves a payload, you never throw a single undead at him. Because let's face it,
Because that's what he's good at.
he can roll a natural 1 on his turn check and still kill the lich in one shot. So, I mean, you can, totally just biff on your casters, but as a GM, you also got to think your players, they got to keep coming back. Otherwise, you won't be able to convince one of your players to be a GM for a while, so you could be a player.
Pathfinder is really great for beginning level characters who want perks and fun stuff to start out with. And you just get a lot more of that than you do with the basic thing.
Yep. Gives me, another favorite to D&D, epic. I'm sorry, Pathfinder is not made for it. If, you get into your epic campaigns as a player, I love those. We got to epic level, we started looking at, killing gods. Can't do that in Pathfinder. Resources aren't there yet. They may be eventually, but I can do that right now in 3.5. I can whip out, the epic level handbook, and I can build an epic level character, and we can go, on a god slaying mission.
If you use Savage Worlds or Warhammer.
Yeah.
Rangers.
For the first 2 levels, yes. Pathfinder loves its first 2 level players. On the other hand, for the great epic campaigns that you will talk about for generations, that 3.5, I gotta give it to that, especially as a GM, I guess, because we all want to get that to hit that 16, 17, 18 level. Pathfinder makes those first 3 levels easy, the first 4 levels easier, but when it comes to those final levels, everything's more exciting, everything's more powerful. 3.5 is what we got. Anyone else want to throw out a couple things?
Rangers.
Rangers. Why aren't you playing a fighter?
If you know what the Rangers are great if you know what's coming.
Then
If
why
you
aren't you
know
playing
what's
a
coming
druid?
at you.
Split class?
Rangers kind of suck in both games. tracking.
Multiple attacks.
Uh,
Two-handed fighting.
yeah.
There's good things.
Two-handed fighting, you could do bows, but if you're going to do that, why didn't you go to fighter and be more efficient at it?
Polymorph, get extra arms. No, just kidding, sorry.
Yeah, and if you wanted to have the spell casting, well, why weren't you do it? And wild shape. And then of course you had natural spells, so you could cast your spells while in wild shape. So you were both, able to cast spells and could be a frontline fighter.
But you can't cast spells and wield two swords if you're a druid.
Sure you could.
Anybody better?
Actually, there was a book for that.
Anybody better archer than good ranger?
Straight fighter.
Yep.
Straight fighter?
Straight fighter.
Straight fighter.
Pathfinder. There's granted he mentioned the archetypes are not very good for some of the off classes, like your ranger, your clerics, your stuff like that. The archetypes, on occasion you'll run into a good archetype. One that I've actually been reading up a lot on is the Oath of Vengeance Paladin, who can dish out wrath like it's nothing.
Oh, there's another big difference. 3.5 hated
Rather
paladins. Now let's face it, paladins kind of were they were something that people played once to get it out of their system, and Pathfinder, paladins are kind of scary. Instead of getting an animal companion, you can get a divine bonded weapon. The weapon grows in strength with you. And Smite Evil. Oh God, it's Smite Evil. Smite Evil. In 3.5, you added your charisma to your attack and your level to your damage. In Pathfinder, you do the exact same thing, except you also have an organic reduction if the target is evil. Also, Smite Evil, you used it as once as a paladin in 3.5, it was gone. If you activate it in Pathfinder, it lasts until that target is dead, or they've been on you haven't attacked them for 24 hours, or you try to smite something else. Yes. You activate Smite Evil on a target, and you keep swinging your sword. You keep adding your +4 charisma and your +3 levels of damage, and just you keep going.
Okay. Big difference with Pathfinder. Healing is much more prevalent.
Yes.
Okay. As a player, gotta love it. Okay.
Yes.
As the DM, I know you said that it's easier to throw things at them and have more fun doing that. Once you get up a few levels, doesn't that become a problem?
Not as much as you would think.
Now our Pathfinder campaign hasn't progressed past, say, 9th level characters, so I don't really have the background to say.
As far as healing prevalence, yes, clerics start out with that extra challenge, but they really don't. That really doesn't grow all that fast.
Well, it does. I mean, I now am doing 5d6 of channeling. In
And
addition,
as you start fighting those high level monsters, it's not the damage you do that is scary. It's the special abilities.
yeah. I'm
That's
in the jaws of whatever that's chomping down on me. I can't get this. I'm not strong enough to escape. I teleport.
yeah.
Wait
I
a minute,
mean-
I'm a cleric. Oh wow, that's cool. I can do that.
Yep. Also, there's a lot more customability in magic items in Pathfinder. You can actually create a ring of dimension door. They have this.
Yeah, the magic item creation seems easier.
Yeah, it's easier. You know exactly how much you got to spend, and as a player point of view,
Yeah.
also you don't have to build the full +4 magic sword in one go. In Pathfinder, you can build the +1, drop your 2,000 gold, and then later on you can drop the additional 2,000, and it's now a +2. In 3.5, you had to drop the 4,000 to get a +2, even if it was already a +1. So gold-wise, resource expenditures for magic items and growth, I gotta give that one to Pathfinder as a player. But for 3.5, we'll give that one to a GM. Because again, control. I can control the income my players have, and I can control the growth. So that way, if I want them to have +2 weapons, I not, going to the market and going, I want to add a +2 to it. It's like, okay, well now you've got a +2 weapon.
Again, role playing roguelike. You can stop. That. You have to have the nice quiet place. You have to have the materials available. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do to.
And I mean, as a GM, you can control both, but it's easier to make excuses in 3.5 than it is in Pathfinder.
Sure.
And yeah, that's another thing. In 3.5, experience expenditure to increase magic hours. Pathfinder? No. You just have to have.
Gotta like that as a player.
Yes. Go ahead.
Personally, I was not going to ever enchant item from like 3.5. Because experience.
Yeah, experience cost as a player, that's huge. Also, another thing on spells, Pathfinder got rid of a lot of spells now. There's an experience cost to them. And they've also decreased them.
Just kill off the characters with all the gold.
Yes.
Let's see, I've lost my sorceress and we've lost the samurai, and both of them were pretty rich.
The alternative is to figure out how to get rid of the gold. But you can do that.
No, you just got rid of the character.
Taxes.
That's beef.
The GM who has not implemented taxes on his player for the first time.
Taxes, yeah, taxes.
Or, suddenly give them an army that's got a fee.
Dang, there's a war going on. Price of things just quadrupled.
Yep. I mean, yes. And again, with a lot of settings you can play with, you can actually, implement all that, and it's a much robust world if you throw that stuff in. With Pathfinder, you've got the one world. I just sort of feel it's a little limited, personally.
Addressing your issue with having to accumulate so many books, just have been doing it long enough that you bought them as they came out. It works just fine.
Yes, and that's the thing in 3.5.
And you can do that with Pathfinder now because you're not that far into it, but
Yep.
you can.
And you get the nostalgic people that are the companies that are actually
Doing
Reprinting.
3.5 reprints, yeah.
that's kind of brings up the point I wanted to focus on. Stepping back away from the books and the minis and all that stuff, the companies themselves. Wizards is very much a monetary. They want to go after the money. They see, in my opinion, they seem to focus more on, okay, let's release the product, you got Magic the Gathering. Let's release the product as fast as we can, not necessarily listening to the players on what's going on. Prime example, 4th Ed, they brought out a game that's mini heavy, and then they discontinued the miniature RPG game. And so it's like, okay. Whereas Paizo has done a real good job on, they will watch the message boards. In fact, I was looking on their site, and they've got whole departments dedicated to simply watching the message boards. If there's a class that's missing from 3.5 that people want to bring forward, they'll look at it, see if they can mold it a little bit with the OGL, and then either release a source book or patches and stuff like that. Paizo for me seems like the better company that supports the player over.
Isn't Pathfinder what D&D was supposed to have been? I mean, really.
Kind of.
And
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know where 4.0 came from, but
It was 4th Ed is, you probably know.
During the beta testing for 4th Ed, they were looking for a way to make it very simple to get a lot of new players in.
boy, they failed.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
In some ways, though, they pull in. When I go to Hobbytown here in town, they pull a lot of your WoW players in because it's in mini, quick, go hack and slash, and you're done. Now it draws away from the strong role player, and I know some of the guys from the Dungeons and Dragons group up in Omaha. They say that it's all about the GM that you have. But I've played several variations of 4th Ed, and there's very minimal role playing that I've seen.
Well, the first time I played 4th Ed was with the Omaha Judge Court, and it was
did have a lot of role play, but it still seemed to be a lot of hacky slashy.
They really built on what they thought was what new players wanted, was hack and slash. And unfortunately, they basically said to the role-playing crowd, sorry.
So we hear rumors that 5th edition is in the works.
Yes.
And do you know anything about how far along that is? Or
They are modularizing it. From what I have read and seen, I've got 2 or 3 of the PDF playtests,
I had a friend who was doing
I've
some
looked
of it.
on them. I haven't actually played it, much more than character creation. They had a demo at NewCon a little while back.
I just heard that it was
Yep.
more like going back to 2.0 or something like that.
The idea of it is based on the person behind the screen. If you as a GM don't like having like the clumsy big battle mat and the minis and stuff like that, okay, here we're going to give you they're going to give you the resources to be able to create a good game with that. The 4th ed people that love the battle mats, love that action, go go go, they're also going to be able to support them. From what I've read.
All things for all people.
And so they're trying to. It's a big project, and this time they are
They can't afford
somewhat
to get it wrong,
listening.
I think,
They're somewhat listening to the players, but
Because I know during the 4th Ed beta testing, a lot of players are going, they're limiting us on role play, and Wizard just kept going. So now they're actually listening. And I think that's more of a paradigm shift in companies in general, because if you've noticed a lot, especially on the online video games, that forum community is really, really, interactive. You've got developers, programmers constantly talking with the players. Blizzard pretty much pioneered it as far as I saw, but League of Legends is a big one. Dota 2, their programmers, the balancers, the live teams are all talking with the players. They're all on the forum.
So what do you think will happen to Pathfinder when 5.0 comes out?
I'd say it's going to probably release a large selection of pretty much niche books, filling in a category of what a lot of players are asking
The
for.
5.0 is?
Well,
Yeah.
no, Pathfinder is to sort of
Oh.
compete with 5.0, to keep people from going to 5.0.
Do you think they'll try to compete with 5.0?
Yes, I say they will keep going with the same system they are, and they'll try to compete.
I would completely agree with
So,
that.
yeah.
Now the other downside is you've got a lot of players, and I've seen there's kind of this rift that Wizards made with 4th Ed that basically said, there's a lot of D&Ders that will not try 4.5 or 3.75, or they'll play 3.75. They're not going to go back to D&D at all.
No, that's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering.
It's burned a lot of bridges.
Does Pathfinder go to Pathfinder 5.0?
Yeah. See, and from what
Or do
from
they
what
stay at
Paizo's
3.75?
from what Paizo's website mentioned,
Tired already.
they seem to want to do it right the first time, rather than try to draw it out. So,
No, what they've done is very admirable. Really.
They took
How
what
we
was
come
already
out
there.
on the?
Huh?
How we come out
Alright.
on the?
Alright, we've got, looks like Pathfinder is a little bit ahead, but there's a few more things I would have liked to cover that.
Sorry.
Honestly, for an hour, let's go ahead and cover a couple more things that I was hoping to cover. 5 minutes? Okay, well then I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Looks like Pathfinder's winning at this point. There were a few things I was going to bring up, and if Chris had been here, he would have really hammered on the 3.5 for us, and it would have brought out some of the more highlights, especially on some of the later stuff. But honestly, let's face it, they're both really great games. I say Pathfinder's a little bit stronger personally because it's current. They took what 3.5 already did and made it better. So honestly, Pathfinder owes everything to 3.5. They're both great games, but currently I gotta say Pathfinder's ahead. It's a little bit stronger, and both are great games. Both are better than 4.0. They're well, I mean, look, they're both great games. I don't
You've been
wanna
doing
re-
it for a long time. 3.5 is easier to run simply because
Yeah.
you've been doing it for a long time.
And honestly, since you know 3.5 so well, picking up Pathfinder is not going to be all that hard. Like they changed some of the feats, so you do have to go through and read it, and they streamline some of the stuff, but you've already got the basics.
Gotta say, it screws you up though. I run 3.5 and I play in Pathfinder and you get the rules mixed up.
Yeah. Like-
You really can't.
Wait a minute, how are you subtracting 5 from your attack to do that much? Oh wait, never mind.
No, we got the power attack straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's,
Or
the details of spells. It really does. It
Oh
does,
yeah,
it
two
does
weapon
catch
fighting,
up.
huge. In Pathfinder, it's a full round attack. 3.5, the offhand attack was part of your standard attack.
Then you add house rules in.
Yeah, and then house 3.5 has a lot of customizable house rules that they listed. They had the whole spell point system. Pathfinder really doesn't support that. But spell points were broken anyway, so we're not going to bring it. Sure. Also, they took a lot of power from the clerics and druids in Pathfinder. Because let's face it, if you build a cleric and druid in 3.5, you could literally have a card with nothing but clerics and druids, and you could not be stopped by it.
Good.
I mean, you need a frontline fighter? Druid. You need a front or cleric. I mean, clerics wearing full plate armor.
Oh,
And, 5 foot step back, I heal myself, and I'm ready to go. I mean, well, as a GM, I gotta say, that gets annoying. Or you get the druid who, picks up the fast healing and wild shapes 7 times and ends up getting all his hit points back.
Pathfinder is somebody's idea of how to improve on D&D 3.5. And
Yep.
for the most part, they did a really good job.
They did a good job.
But
There's a few
inevitably there'll be things that you don't like that you like better with 3.5. So combine what the heck.
And yes, they are combined. There is nothing that says I can't run a Pathfinder game in Epic. Or Ravenloft, or Forgotten Realms. Except, I hate Wizards, so
Just
I've never run anything.
having the customizable monster manuals or bestiaries or whatever, it's sad not to have enough of those.
Are you from the Omaha or the Lincoln area?
Yeah, I
The,
run the textbook department at Nebraska Bookstore.
This is our VIP card from Gauntlet Games.
Oh, okay.
If you every $10 you spend, you get a bunch, and then
You're just on the wrong end of town, actually.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the downside with Lincoln and the gaming scene is we are very quiet, and we're very our homebodies.
I'm glad you're still there.
So yeah, I actually don't work there yet. I'd love to, but they kind of helped us out with getting the cards, and part of Gamers Connect is we're trying to support local businesses, local gamers as much as possible.
I game 3 times a week with different groups of people, and mostly we were all tied into Rochelle and Garner's place, Comic World.
Right.
And now there is no Comic World.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
The downside, unless the business in this town, if it's not centered around football, it seems like it has a hard road to go. I know we lost Retroid's Dungeon for a while back, which was sad, but at the same time, that's the risk you run when you're running a small business.
No, I
The
understand. I need
economy
to just change my habits and stop by more often.